you've already practiced your 5-card line and you're ready to expand, right? In your documentation that I've given you this sheet, okay? And if you can, print it out. Otherwise, just kind of look at it and you'll see that there's card placements on the sheet. Before I get the 9-card square going, I'm going to talk about it. You should have your printout, okay? And I'm going to go into the lesson in just a second, but I want to make really clear something about this sheet. This sheet is going to help you with all of your bigger readings. So do you remember that 5-card line we did? Well, it's going to be similar right here. You're going to have the past, the present, and the future. But what you really want to know right now is that the columns and rows mean something. So the first column is the past. The center column is the present. The third column is the future. Now also the rows mean something. The top row, if read in the way that I read it, are the thoughts of the significator or the significant situation, which will be right here in the center. This is the timeline. Well, the timeline to me is about the perception of life that's unfolding. Then on the bottom I read this as happenings. Now happenings are different than timeline. This is life experience. These are things that are going on, okay? And those are the bottom row. So the things that are happening are below the significator, which is here. Things that the significator are thinking about are here. Things they're experiencing are here. Now, there is also diagonal readings. So, in the center you have your significator card. Now, if you really want to, you can draw the significator card beforehand. I don't like to. I like to see what comes up, even if I have a question prepared. But if you really want to put the lady or the gentleman there, or a card that signifies the circumstance at hand, please, by all means, do so. So shuffle up your cards. I'm going to grab a deck. I'm working with my vintage deck today. And I'm going to lay out my 9-card square, or 3x3 it's also called. Now keep in mind when I'm teaching you this, that this is my method, even though I'm teaching you the style of Lenormand reading, that everybody thinks it's done a little bit differently. And we're going to do this, what I think is traditionally in the style of reading. Again, I still think you should, place your own keywords onto the cards. It's just until you understand traditions, and you can deal with that. Okay, so I'm ready to go. I'm going to put my spread out. I'm going to share it with you, and then we're going to talk about it, okay? Thanks. So I've got my spread out, and I'm looking at it, and the first thing I see is that the center's the stork. So to me, this is a momentous occasion, or a new beginning of some sort that this subject is about. If you look at the sheet that these are on and the placements they're in, it's going to tell you exactly which position is which. So if I pick up the card before it, which in this instance, this is the center, the stork, in this instance is the garden card, it tells me it's the timeline past. So I know the card to the left of the middle card is the timeline past. What does that mean, timeline past? That means like the way that you perceive time flowing in your life, okay? Then in front of it, if I pick up that card, I have the lady, and it says timeline future. So to me, this is an event about this woman, or that's going into this woman, or I don't want to give too much away. I really want you to interpret your own ideas of what this all means. Anyways, so above the stork we have the dog, and that is present thoughts. If you pull up the card, you'll see that that's present thoughts, and this is exactly what's on the mind of the the querent, the person that's being read for, or yourself if you're reading for yourself, okay? This is what's on your thoughts. This is what's relevant to the situation, okay? And if you look to the left and right of that, you'll see that those are also thoughts. It's just in a straight timeline. So, you know, as time flows, the chart flows. Now beneath it, now there's different ways to read above and below in Lenormand. Above can also be conscious and below can be subconscious. I think it's easier to be like thoughts and then what is happening. Now how is that different than timeline? Well, timeline's perception of how life is evolving. And what is happening is, what are the things that are going on? Like, and isn't that great to have that in a reading? Like, you really get to see what's going on, right? So right below the stork, I have present happenings, which is the path. So to me, this is like a decision that's being made, but how is that relevant in what's happening? Not what's thinking, but what's happening. So see how the interpretation is different by where its placement is. So also, if you look to the corners, you'll see that they're influencing cards. So you'll have the bottom left and the upper right and through the middle are going to be influencing cards. That's another reading. So like the X in the reading is another reading. So on the top left down to the bottom right is another reading. And those are how the situation's influenced, and where their place is important. So I'm going to start with your 9-card spread and 9-card square, and I want you to try a few. Now do what really works for you and do that all the time, because that, like, I can't emphasize enough that if you're really clear in Lenormand, how clear it will be for you. It is really what you put into it. You be really intentional when you read with this deck, okay? So again, practice with the sheet. If you can't print the sheet, look at the sheet. And I want you to really kind of master this 9-card spread before you move on, because once you get this 9-card spread, it's going to just really open up when you get into the bigger spreads. So I'm going to do one more, and I'm not going to tell you even what's there. You're just going to look on the video and see if you can figure out what it means. So when that's rolling, why don't you take a pause, press pause, and say, okay, the center means this, means that, means, and then of course you'll create your own as well. Guess what your homework is? That's right, the 9-card square. You gotta do it. You gotta practice with it, because if you figure out how it works, it's gonna expand. So you really wanna figure out where the placements are and how they influence the central card, okay? Play with it, gosh, I would say a whole bunch of times. I would do it as many times as you can stand it. Maybe, I don't know, do it at least like 10, you know. Try it and try it and try it until you figure out like how everything works, okay? And then we'll move on in the next lesson. I know you're anxious to do that. We're going to move on to the mini tableau, and I love the mini tableau. I use this in my half-hour readings. I use it a lot. I get a lot of information out of it. It's a fantastic reading. So you'll really enjoy that. And that's just basically an expansion of what you're learning here. So do your homework. Okay, thank you. See you next time.